Chapter 8. Thriller Story. Core need, safety. Core life value, damnation versus life. Core emotion, excitement. Core event, hero at the mercy of the villain. The thriller genre answers the complex question, how do we deal with ever-present and often incomprehensible forces of evil in everyday life? Thriller stories blend elements of three other genres as the powerful individual protagonist, the heroic luminary agent, from the action genre faces the embodiment of evil, the monster, from the horror genre, in a story about unmasking an antagonist who has committed a crime against society, as in the crime genre. The luminary agent ends up as a victim and faces damnation if they fail to identify and defeat the shadow agent. How do you deliver the experience thriller story readers are looking for? The core need for safety arises in the thriller genre when the antagonist, or shadow agent, commits an inciting crime indicative of a master villain. These stories include strong elements of psychological torment for the protagonist, which makes unleashing their gifts and solving the crime more difficult. The protagonist's worldview must shift to bring new insights before their gifts can emerge. The core life value spectrum derived from the need for safety ranges from life to damnation. Damnation, or a fate worse than death, for the luminary agent is an ever-present threat. The crime committed by the antagonist becomes personal in some way for the protagonist, intensifying the relationship between the two and making their opposition even more exciting than in an action or crime story. Like crime stories, thriller stories include at least a dozen genres based on setting and the type of crimes committed, including political thrillers, serial killer thrillers, and psychological thrillers. When the luminary agent finally defeats the shadow agent, readers feel the core emotion of excitement. The controlling idea or theme of thriller story is, life is preserved when the protagonist succeeds in unleashing their gift, but death or damnation triumphs when they fail to do so. In a dark and scary world of threats that attack our psyches as much as our physical bodies, thrillers provide us with some hope that we can survive if we give the struggle with evil all our energy. In a thriller story, one of the villain's goals is to torment and destroy the protagonist. And one source of excitement for readers is in identifying the source of that deep antagonism. The power of the individual is often diminished in modern society, so the thriller story's focus on the power of an individual reminds us that we matter and our hidden gifts matter. As readers, we experience a cathartic release in the thriller genre's affirmation of individual sovereignty as a defense against evil. The global crisis of thriller story brings us to the negative end of the life-damnation spectrum as the luminary agent faces a dilemma about whether to express or withhold their gifts in the core event, which is the hero at the mercy of the villain scene. This crisis forces the luminary agent to break their cognitive frame under the threat of a fate worse than death. This threat of damnation must be on the table, the hero at the mercy of the villain scene, which is both the global climax and the climax of the ending payoff, integrates all three core essentials. The luminary agent's core need for safety defines the core life value of damnation at stake, which when attained, produces a core emotion response of excitement in the reader. Similar to action stories, thrillers inspire us to identify with the protagonist, the victim, and often the villain as well. The enormous power divide between the protagonist and antagonist is similar to that in horror stories, but the fact that the force of evil is realistic rather than supernatural heightens the sense of fear for readers. Summing up, in thriller stories, our need for safety leads us to identify with the protagonist who seeks to defeat an antagonist who personifies evil. We respond to the resolution of conflict on the life-damnation spectrum with excitement. In the core event, the hero at the mercy of the villain scene, the core need for safety is most in jeopardy as the protagonist faces the extreme of damnation or a fate worse than death. The core emotion of excitement is at its height during the confrontation between the luminary agent and the shadow agent. By setting up and delivering the scene in an innovative way, we meet the thriller reader's expectations.